Hello everyone, this is David at Grow and Eat This, and I have to apologize. I haven't put a video up of any sort in, I think it's been like a month and a half, and I owe myself an explanation as well as anyone else. You know, as you get past 70, life gets hard, and the weather gets bad, and we've had day after day after day over 100 degrees. And then when you get to be my age and you're a man, there's some things that happen to you that you don't like to talk about, but it happens to you anyway. And even if you have a decent outcome, the amount of time you spend with doctors and their tests and the before the test and the after the test chews up a lot of time and a lot of energy. Then you add that the knees don't work so good, the hips are giving out. Boy, I tell you, old is tough. If you're young, be nice to old people. Their life is tough. So we're going to have some serious changes to the garden. And thoughts on that is what this video is going to be about. First, I want to show you how the garden's doing, or how the garden's not doing. Parts of the garden are doing really well. Those things that feed the insects is doing an outstanding job. We have absolutely bumper crop of every kind of insect predator known to Georgia. And some of them probably aren't even from Georgia. They're probably from out of state. So I want to show you some of what's happening and some of why, for an old guy, the garden, the way it's laid out and the way it's gone, it's just too much effort. It's just too much work. I just can't do it like this anymore. But I want to keep gardening because I want to keep having real food. So we're going to have to make some changes. Some of my thoughts I'm going to give you now, and I hope you'll put down in the comments some of yours, particularly if you're an old guy and still garden. So let me show you what's happening and what's not happening. This is September, I don't know, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, something or other. First week in September, and it's only like mid-80s, not in the hundreds. So I'm actually outside at 11 o'clock, still starting to sweat to death, but let me show you what's going on. One of the smartest things I ever did was planting Thai basil out here with the peppers. Obviously Thai basil needs a whole lot more water than I think it does, because when you plant it with the peppers, he gets buried in water, just like because peppers want a lot of water. So you can see, this time of year, the deal with peppers is to keep them alive. If you can keep them alive until the cooler weather and fall comes, you can actually get a good crop. But keeping them alive in the hundreds is tough. The tomatoes, boy, a couple of my late tomatoes are still hanging in there. Ooh. But, you know, that's just not real high on your list of what a great tomato is supposed to look like this time of year. Let's see how this one looks. This one, other than the hole in it, would have been okay. But as I said, we're feeding a lot of bugs. There's another one with a hole in it. So see, where you first think I got some tomatoes coming, you realize I got nothing. But I do have plants that are moderately healthy, so maybe they will survive and I'll get something this fall. Now this is a nice planting of pole beans. Beans were doing pretty well, so I planted more beans everywhere I could. These don't look too bad, except the nasty bugs are moving in. The caterpillars are moving in. People say you just squish them. It's like, yeah, maybe you just squish if you only have a few. But what if they look like that? I mean, those bean plants are shot. They're not going to do anything. They're pretty much under the weather, down for the count. Yeah. Down here in the middle, it's hard to believe I planted beans, bush beans, but the bugs have just demolished them. The fennel here, which should be covered in caterpillars, has had none. Don't know why. What does look fairly good here is these sweet potatoes. And I think we're probably going to get a good nice crop of sweet potatoes out of here. As we come down, we're looking at the last dregs on a couple of tomatoes. Now, there's a new tomato and a new tomato that I did from slips. Funny thing about slips is that if you just cut it, you don't get anything. If you'll take this guy in the middle here, he'll root really quickly, but if you cut this one or this one, they just die. I don't know why. Here's another good, see, that'd be a good slip right there to root, but it's getting kind of late. They don't have time to make a plant and get a crop. So, here's the beans I planted about a month ago. Our harvest off of them so far has been absolutely nothing. And as I look at them, you can see that the continued harvest is going to be absolutely nothing. Because this guy is one of our favorite friends, little white butterflies. So, now we come down to some more pole beans. And I don't know what's doing this to them. I don't see any caterpillars. I don't know if it's Japanese beetles or I don't know what's doing it. But pretty much eating it gone, huh? See, there's no caterpillar. So I don't know what's eating my plant. I'm hoping, since there's only maybe 15 or 20 beans on this plant, that they will live long enough here that I can use them to get seeds for next year. Gotta let them brown out a little more and then I'll be picking them. There's enough here. Maybe I can get some decent seeds for next year. But other than that, it's a waste. Here's some more bush beans. They're flowering, but they're not making beans yet. And here's my whole row of peppers. They're hanging in here pretty nicely. There's maybe 8 or 9 peppers in here. They're hanging in pretty nicely. Something for you to think about. We used to plant marigolds, and they get to be these big bushy things that take over everything. And then I got some cosmos, and I hadn't grown cosmos, I don't think, ever till last year. And boy, they're beautiful. And the butterflies love them. And frankly, that's a fritillaria. I'll show you how you grow lots of those. Here's an old cosmos. The birds ate the seeds off of most of them, but a few will fall because those are all self-sowed. And here's another batch of beans. Look at this, man, they've just been decimated. And I don't see any caterpillars, I don't see anything. So I don't know what's eating the beans. If you know, please help me out, because it is so depressing. As well as they were doing earlier, I figured we'd have 10, 20 quarts in the freezer, and we're not even picking any to eat. There was a nice eggplant there, it died. This was another one of the same kind, it's doing nothing. But this particular eggplant, this variety, we got at the community gardens or maybe Randy's. And despite the weather and the heat and the bugs, which you can see there's definitely some beetle pressure, it is consistently putting out some nice eggplant. Now, let's cross over here. This sad thing here is my horseradish. I give it a bunch of water and some fertilizer, it'll probably keep making some horseradish. This is the last of my Grow Forever Sun Gold tomatoes. You know, when it doesn't rain for a week, and then you have a huge front come through that puts 3 inches down in 2 days, that's what your tomatoes look like. They just explode. You know, looks like you got a lot of nice tomatoes till you get up close to it, and what you have is a whole lot of nothing. So this isn't going to work. But now, in spite of this, I can point out a couple of problems. Number one, in order to do the plants between here, due to time or whatever, I can't quite get the lawnmower down anymore, or I can only get it down a little bit. And it's really a contortion special to make the turns in here. And it's debilitating. Can't get through there at all. So I know one thing that has to happen is these beds have got to either get narrower, or I've got to eliminate one and space them differently, because the amount of time it takes to maintain the space between these rows, I'm down to just doing it with a weed whacker, and that's exhausting. It makes a huge mess. It takes a lot of time that I could actually be doing something useful in. So I don't know, you know, to just look at the garden, it looks great till you go look at it, and then you discover it's all eaten up with bugs, or it's exploded from the rain. Over here in the middle of some peppers, there's a pepper. I put basil there again, regular basil. It's like the Thai basil. It is extremely happy with getting all the extra water. I got a soaker hose going down here, trying to get these watered. Haven't had any rain for a few days. This used to be butternut squash, so much for that. And then here's a bunch more of the sweet potatoes, and they've been flowering pretty steadily, so I think we're probably going to get a good crop of sweet potatoes. And then we come down here to a pepper, and seriously, look at the top of this pepper. I've never had any peppers. To me were like they just grow, and yet that pepper, if we come up here, back up here where we were, look at these pepper plants. Man, they're just demolished. There's no bugs, there's nothing. I don't know what's eating the peppers. It's not rabbits because it's up high. It's not deer because I put cameras up. If there were deer coming and doing it, I'd see them. I'd have them on the videos. But I don't. One of my poor plants that I did it to on purpose, this is a variety of passion vine. This is another variety of passion vine. This was the first one I bought because we wanted to get some butterflies and feed them. And there's the vine coming up. And now look at what has happened to this passion vine. And the amazing thing is that even though there's like nothing left, we've still got caterpillars. Now these are, I think, Gulf fritillarias. They're the beautiful little 3/4 sized caterpillars that are bright orange, just beautiful. So I planted it just for them, and they seem to be enjoying it. But it'd be nice if they'd leave just a little bit of the plant. The tiniest little piece of leaf shows up, and they're all over it. So I bagged one of these, let it ripen, and I'll try and get some seeds. But this is tough stuff. And of course, as you can kind of see, or maybe you can't, but the house is way up there. By the time you get way down here, the house is over my head where it starts. It's standing here. And with all of the stuff in the way, this is a lawnmower house. Push lawnmower. You know how hard it is to push a lawnmower up and down this hill around all this stuff? I got to get rid of some of this stuff so it's straightaways. Because as you can even see there, the weeds just take over. And with the heat, you only get a couple, 3 hours you can work. And do you work in the garden? Do you harvest? Do you fertilizer? Do you weed? Or do you mow? And it ends up being, you gotta mow. Place looks like a junk pile otherwise. But and I had high hopes. Ugh, strip it in my hand. So these peppers are hanging in because they're blocked from the sun somewhat. But even, you know, they look half decent, but then you look at these and it's like, something had a hole in it. Never had anything eat on peppers before. This year's been terrible. Now, this is ginger and turmeric, and they do look like they're going to make me a crop, which is nice. This is the backside of that set of beans I was showing you. Look at that. Have you ever seen that with beans? I haven't. Literally. Have never had anything eat on beans. Couple little fold over guys on the leaves, but nothing just eat them to the ground. Absolutely incredible. So this is what the garden is doing, and somehow or other I got to get the mowing easier, the garden rows so I can get clean around them and work them better. And with my knees and back, the ground itself is getting to be a long way down, and it's just debilitating. So ideas for raising the beds up that don't require you to like mortgage your house again, I'd love to hear about. We're hoping that one of the solutions to all of this is a green stalk. We've bought 2 of them. They got a nice sale going on right now. They're still expensive, but the one has 42 squares, the other one has 30, and we're figuring out of all of that, maybe we can get 45, 50 of them with the sun right for us. And that'd be a lot of herbs, lettuce, greens, which we eat a lot of. So, you know, I can handle 30 lettuces, no problem. Rotate them out. We eat a lot of lettuce. In the wintertime, I grow it indoors. So, you know, most people would say, get one, see how it works. Well, you know, at 71, please, old people out there gardening, tell me how you're doing it. Or point me to videos that show how to do it. I think we've consumed most of the green stalk videos, and that does look like that's a solution. Even though people say they're for gardening in small spaces. In my mind, they're gardening for people who can't bend over so good anymore. I can either get a chair and sit down and work the bottom half, or I can stand up and work the top half. So that all looks pretty good to me. But, you know, you still got to grow tomatoes, peppers, cabbages, cauliflower. Those things, you know, people will grow them in a green stalk, but that's silly. They need more ground, more dirt, more space. And I can't spend 3 times a day outside water. I'm trying to keep them watered. So there's got to be some container options in there somewhere. So, looking for some help. This is David at Grow and Eat This. Going to kind of change the garden around and kind of change the focus to it's going to be kind of a Grow and Eat This for old people. And maybe there'll still be some things to learn for young people, because, you know, if you don't die, you get to be old people. And it happens faster than you think. So keep the faith, keep gardening. This is David at Grow and Eat This. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe.